Here we are on part 2 on how to represent yourself in a court of law. I'll give you the background to the story so you have some idea of what the relevance of what I did and the effects it had on the company that was against me. I was informed by a union representative from ISS's own union, the LMHU, that ISS was going to go after me to take my job. Now, I informed my employer of that statement 6 months before the initial complaint was made by Neil Pitkin. Now, once that allegation was made, it went through for 2 federal agents and then it went on to the hierarchy. It was within a couple of months, Neil Pitkin again applied for, Neil Pitkin's also known as Reginald Pitkin. He then requested and was pretty upset with the AFP that they hadn't disciplined me by this time. The AFP PRS investigations gave a call to me and said I needed to go to their office to have a conversation. I asked him, is it about ISS? He said, we can't disclose this right now. This is federal agent Nick Papajamas. He said, we can't disclose what the conversation is about. So I went and had this meeting at the Federal Police Office in Wharf Street, Brisbane. In that meeting, not within minutes of sitting down, they turned around to me and they said, we are going to be on you for months to come, and if any of this sticks, we're going to have you. And I looked at them and I thought, I actually said to them, I warned you 6 months earlier that this was going to happen. And you did nothing. Had you told me this was about, I would have brought the evidence with me to show you what's been going on. But you knew this was coming. I had told acting OIC Tracy Morrell, which should have gone up the chain of command from there. All of a sudden amnesia set in. She forgets what I told her. Coincidence? Maybe. Who knows? So through this investigation that they were conducting, this interview, constantly I was already guilty from day one. They classed me as guilty. And then after time off work and losing everything, they sent out a psychologist. The Australian Federal Police sent out a psychologist to try and medically discharge me from the AFP, saying I was medically unfit. And the officer that came out, sat down, heard my story and said, you know what, you're absolutely right. You have all the rights to feel angry and upset with what's going on. And I did. So from that point, the AFP then offered me, I lived in Chermside, they offered me a shift to work at the Gold Coast at Coolangatta. I was to travel from Chermside to Coolangatta to and from every day, and till all this had settled and they'd sorted it out. I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing a 4-hour trip to and from the Gold Coast. No way in the world. So I stayed at home. I refused to go back to work until they sorted it out. And then I got a phone call 19 months later. Many phone calls in between, but the ultimate phone call was 19 months later. And they said, you've been cleared of all the allegations. However, we're opening up a new investigation. I said, what's this for? They said it was for offensive language. I said, I didn't swear at anyone. They said, the term is Australian Federal Police. And I'm thinking to myself, this is on our cars, our office, our uniforms, everywhere, all the paperwork. If it's offensive, then we just might as well just nicko it all out, because obviously it's an offensive term and you definitely cannot be using an offensive term in public. So under the own federal agent, Nick Papajamas' words, the Australian Federal Police is an offensive term. Don't say it, because it's offensive. Allegedly. So after I argued with him about this offensive language, he said, listen, Troy, here's how it's come down. That we've made a deal. They're going to get a $10,000 contract in Canberra, and you're getting this kick up the arse. So I'm taking a token kick up the arse for something I've been proved innocent on. Now, I'm a man of morals. Like, there's limits to what I'll take and what I won't take, and I won't take this rubbish. So I told him I quit, straight up. Now, they didn't straight away approve my resignation. I had to take it to the Queensland Industrial Relations, Australian Industrial Relations Commission to get my resignation sorted and to get my service certificate. And that's when that was negotiated, that they would give me my service certificate and I would resign. So in that process, because my relationship with my employer is low as low, there is no trust. I couldn't trust them. If you could put them in front of me, cover them in concrete and say they're a sturdy organisation, they're not. Because they maintain friendships with people committing acts like this, which is nothing less than obstruction and hindrance of a Commonwealth official under the Crimes Act, and yet they failed to do anything about it. Not once, but 2 or 3 times. In fact, the letter I was referring to earlier from the Australian Federal Police, I quote, that we wish to advise you the AFP will consider the matter if there is substantial and credible evidence of criminality that was not considered in your initial complaint with the AFP. In the absence of the evidence, additional criminality in the previous determination of the AFP will reject the matter for investigation, will remain unchanged. Now, my initial letter went to them on the 6th of August 2007. This letter is dated the 7th of August 2008. It's over 12 months that they absolutely refused to do anything about it. And to this date, there has been no justice brought to this company, except for the fact that 6 years after I finished this court case, they sold up their security side of the business and passed it on to a Wilson security firm. Now, a bit of history on ISS. They came into the Australian market in 2002. They bought up ISS facility services, integrated services, security. The security side of it didn't really come into effect until about 2004. The health services, the hygiene services, the catering services, and the property services. Now, when all that occurred, now they came into the security side of it approximately 2004. Peter Beadle was then made general manager in 2005. My case ended in 2000 and... Bear with me for just a second. I don't want to give you bad stories. 2008. And within 6 years, well, it was less than that, it was actually within a couple of years, but within 6 years of my case coming to an end, ISS had closed all its business in Australia with regards to the security side of things and sold the whole lot off to another company, Wilson Security. So the effects that I've had on this company were dramatic, absolutely dramatic. Now you're talking, this is a company that was making $1 billion a year. It's something like, I can't remember how many people were employed by it, 22,000 or something. But I'll get those facts back to you. Don't quote me on those 2 facts. I'll get them back to you so that we can get the right facts to you. So that's pretty much the background of the case. And in the next segment, we'll start to talk more about how the case grew and the tactics I used to proceed this case to a more public forum, which is where you get your protection. Talk soon.